The Tuesday Night Crit from Richardson, Texas, presented by Turbo Velo. Here we are for the Masters 40 Plus race. The first race in a new series, the previous series having been just 2 races and now over. I believe we got 3rd place with Andy in that series. And here we go again. So you can see that there's an immediate attack off the front. We have a field of about 22 riders. You can see that I'm near the back here. And there was a conversation between 3 of my teammates, Andy, Adam, and Ryan, about who would follow if someone put in an early attack. And the consensus was that Andy would do so. However, that's not what happened. And when an attack by Chad of Cadence went up the road, Adam apparently yelled out, "Ryan, go!" And so Ryan then goes. And is the person on our team, therefore tracking the break, getting into the break. And we have some riders here now up the road. So you can see that the field has slowed up a little bit, and we have 4 riders up the road there. And it's like one chasing the 4 there. So we have Chad of Cadence. Cadence is this sort of black and white jersey. This gentleman right in front of me, I think this is Brent there right in front of me, and RG on his left, those 2 teammates, that's Cadence. We have Ryan from Cheney Window and Door, my team, and we have Gary Durheim of Lineate, that is also up the road, as well as our rider from United, Carson Elias, is up the road as well. So this is where, in this first lap, you can see the gaps have opened up quite substantially. Teammate Andy up there tracking and chasing. He's going to allow someone to pull him up to the break if possible, if somebody will let him. But it's like Jimmy was earlier on pack, was attempting to get into that break but didn't make it, and substantially blowing up due to his efforts there. But there are guys thinking right now with my team and Cadence in a breakaway, the race is going away, the podium is going away in the first lap, and you had better get in that break or bring back the break, or your team is off the podium. They have to be thinking that, because they know that my team and Cadence are going to be patrolling any breakaway attempts, i.e. not substantially contributing to the chase, hopefully not chasing at all. There would be a few scenarios in which you might consider holding the gap even though your teammate is in the break. However, those are, I think, more advanced things that typically shouldn't be going on at kind of our level of racing and cooperation and so forth. So those 3 guys in front of us, that's not the break. We are the chasers that are spread, on the road here, that are not in the break, as people are in panic mode about not making the break. Now this person in front of me, Brent on Cadence, I think he got 2nd in the 2 race series just recently, and so he's definitely someone to mark and watch, and someone that I'll be paying attention to during this race. Now, I can't say that I had the best legs. It was extraordinarily hot, and I had not been on my bike, literally not been on a bike for 8 days. Me being on vacation just prior to this race, just drove back into town, put all my stuff away, that, outdoor equipment and stuff. As soon as I got that, getting all my bike stuff together, driving over to the crit, literally no warm-up, just hop on the bike and start racing. There's my teammate, Adam. You can see that we have our new kits that have come in, the blue and yellow. So all of us but one were in the new blue and yellow kits, or the old blue and yellow kits for this race. So a little more cohesion in our appearance on Cheney Window and Door. So in the very distance, you can see, I think, the breakaway. They're just making that turn to the left. So we are significantly behind them. And we see that Cadence and Cheney, window and door, that's Andy in second wheel, are now on the front, which is not a good sign if you're wanting to be in the breakaway or on the podium, because we are not chasing. We can see, let's see, what is our speed right now? 24 miles an hour. Jimmy there on Cadence, riding on the left side. So he is closest to the wind, meaning he is not guttering, folks. And he's doing a false tempo, i.e. Going on the front, keeping the speed reasonably high, but going fast enough that he hopes to discourage some attacks. So this rider on the front in the black, I apologize, I don't know his name, Jason on his wheel. Jason following here on the reunion team. It's the impetus is on them to be able to bring back that breakaway, or break off the frontier and go for the more minor placings of, you know, 4th, 5th, and 6th, and so forth. Those places are worth points for the series, up to 10th. But you know, it's a tall order at this point for them to chase back the breakaway. Given the wind direction on this side, if you're guttering the group, you're all the way to the left. If you're not guttering the group, you'd be to the right. So Jimmy going to the front again on Cadence. And again, this is kind of this false tempo situation of going fast enough that it may discourage people from attempting to bridge. Again, I've mentioned this in other videos. I'm not the hugest fan of this tactic. Like, you know, for example, in the Tour de France, of course it's different, right? It's a lot of teams, a lot of people, but you would never see, like, let's say there's a breakaway of 3 up the road, you would never see that team on the front doing a false tempo. That would not work. And for similar reasons, I don't think it really works all that well at this level either, but we don't need to dwell on that entirely. I guess the reason that it's on my mind in particular is, we'll talk about it later when we get there, as far as Jimmy's false tempo tactics. But anyway, what am I thinking at this point? So I'm thinking, you know, if this break gets away, we're on the podium, that's desirable. And my job at this point is to maximize our placements otherwise in the group. And even if I don't necessarily think these guys that are putting in efforts are going to get on the podium, I don't want them to ride away with necessarily placements by riding in between. That's the no-name team. I think that's literally their... I don't think they're actually like a registered team, but that's what they go by, with the multicolored kit. You see he puts in a dig, and this fellow in the black kit, he'd already put in a dig previously, and he's putting in another dig. So me following his wheel, this is theoretically going to discourage him. So he's giving a little bit of room here for other people to ride in his draft. But, you know, at this point, you know, he's like, pull through. You know, he's not saying it literally to me, but that's what he wants. Wants someone to pull through. It's the responsibility of other riders to pull through. The guy in the purple kit up ahead, pink kit, now I understand that they are from Tyler. I forget, Fresh, I think is the name of their team. And he ends up doing quite a bit of work in our fields group here. Now, when you're like doing this patrolling work, by being on the front, chasing down people going off the front, it actually takes a fair bit of energy. And I can't say that I'm in very great shape right now, but I have enough energy, right, to be like second wheel right now and so forth. If I didn't have that energy, I'd be like further in the back. You're spending more energy as second wheel than you would like 4th, 5th, 6th wheel and so forth. So I guess I'm feeling well enough to do this kind of work at least this point in the race. The race is relatively short. I forget how long this one is, but it's typically 30-35 minutes in that range. So it's not a super long race, just kind of an intense, fast, quick race. It's the third of the 4 races that happen every Tuesday evening. The C race, Cat 4, Cat 5, the B race, Cat 3, 4, Cat 3 and 4, then the Masters 40 Plus, which is Cats 1 through 4, and then finally the A race, which is Cats 1, 2, and 3. So we're kind of like the short interlude race between the longer B race and the longer A race, the A race being the longest of the 4 races, till basically the sun sets. Two days after this race, I did a very hot group ride. When I say hot, I mean hot as in temperature. And I just got destroyed. So the lack of riding, I'm surprised that I could even do anything in this race given how I rode 2 days afterwards. Just terrible form. The numbers are not indicating that I have great form, but that's neither here nor there, because what we're more interested in is what happens in the race and what we're thinking and what the tactics are. So this is my teammate. So I know that I have other teammates. I don't have to do all of the work here, like being near the front or on the front or chasing things back. But certainly an objective of mine is to see that we get at least one more teammate possibly up the road ahead of the field. And we'll see how that plays out in a little bit. What's going on in the front here? I can't quite see who's in the front. I think it's the multicolored. Let's see as we make this turn. Still can't see I'm riding. Yeah, who is that on the front? Oh yeah, the black kit, followed by the no-name team. So a little gap opened up by No Name in the tie-dyed kit. And right on the wheel is our 5-time world champion, sorry, not world champion, national champion, 5-time national champion teammate, Adam. Adam was also a professional triathlete. In fact, he just did a triathlon this weekend. So, you know, I could have gone after this, but I did not, and that might have been a mistake, so perhaps someone else will drag me up there. And Juan on reunion seems to be chasing, and it was an opportune moment for me to jump onto his wheel. So I don't think this is in our interest to let this go up the road without representation from our team. So had Juan not been there and I not gotten onto his wheel, I think it would have been on one of us, myself or one of my teammates, to pull this back. Fresh going again, followed by Brent. So I guess Cadence is not up the road. No, I think Cadence is up the road, but Brent is doing the right thing here for his team, which is to get the free ride. He's not helping the bridging attempt. He is just getting on Fresh's wheel and letting Fresh drag him up to this little, you know, intermezzo break. Actually, that is a teammate, I believe, of mine, right off the front there. And I believe that's Chris Lee of Cadence, so that might be Andy there. And Chris off the front. Now I want to say, you know, as this was all happening, I think I've sort of gotten behind my own thoughts. About one lap ago, I guess I didn't notice it as I was watching the video, I did let a gap open up on purpose. And yeah, so when that gap opened up, it was on purpose. And the idea I had was that Andy would be able to attack, which he did. And it took about a half lap for it to all develop. But sort of a secondary attack of his, followed by Chris Lee bridging up, he is now gone off the front. So that was actually purposeful, think on my part, to let that gap open up. One lap ago from right around here. So now we have another teammate up the road, and by this time we can see that the original breakaway of 4 is gone, and they are not going to come back. They're way ahead, and actually that breakaway got whittled down to 3 because Carson Elias was dropped from that breakaway. I guess eventually he reintegrated into the field. I can't remember if that's already happened. I think it happened pretty quickly. He wasn't in the break for terribly long. I think he told me afterwards, but I didn't see it happen on the video here. So now we have riders 4 and 5 up the road. And Brent is on the front now. He is pulling, and he's on the far right, which means he's guttering everyone, meaning that everyone who is behind him is not really getting much of a draft at all. We're all having to do approximately the same amount of work. So now he drifts over to the left, and Fresh goes. So Fresh, why they're sponsored by Caltech, I don't know, but I was wondering about that. Caltech wants to get up to riders 4 and 5, but he's going to have to drag me up there if he's going to do it. And that's that, look of disgust back to me, like, are you just going to sit on my wheel? Yep, I'm just going to sit on your wheel. And that gap has grown out to be quite large here. It's going to take considerable effort to bring them back. Andy is super strong. He's won one of the series, and he's won the 40 plus crit this year, and he's been on the podium numerous times this year. It's going to take, he's very good at TTing. It's going to take a lot of effort to bring him back. So here's me on the front now. My false tempo is extremely false. Like 21 miles an hour, 22 miles an hour, 200 watts, under 200 watts. This is not a false tempo. This is just going slow on the front. And even then, I probably shouldn't be. Now, this is Jimmy going relatively hard. That's hard enough to me that it looks like an attack. He gapped everybody. And teammate Andy chasing, Fresh Rider chasing. And we are going 28 miles an hour, 27 miles an hour. So what is this? He's got 2 teammates up the road. He's in position, his teammate is in position 4/5. What is this? Is this another false tempo attack to prevent people from attacking? I don't think so. He's not riding on the right side. He's not guttering the group. He's giving space to the group. This is actually closing the gap down to those riders ahead, which includes my teammate. This is the part that I didn't understand of what he's doing. In other words, I don't understand the team tactics behind this unless he feels like his teammate is not good enough to stay with Andy, and thus really is a false break. In other words, it's a false representation. He thinks that perhaps his teammate will get dropped, Andy will drop him, and we need to catch up to Andy. And that could be what he's thinking. Sometimes if you have a teammate in the break and you are fearing that teammate will get dropped from the break, you have to treat that break like you don't have a teammate in the break. That can very well happen. I mean, I remember previous season, not recently, where a teammate got into the break a number of times and got dropped from the break a number of times, which is disastrous for a strong team, because we had other guys who could have gotten that break and stuck the break. Now what? Like now we're not in the break. We've been protecting you. What we're doing right now, me and my teammates, we're protecting the break. we're now protecting the secondary brake that has our teammate Andy, who's extremely strong. Fresh going again. He did a lot of work. Very strong rider to put in all that work repeatedly. At this point, let me talk about my thoughts about what I should be doing, what I need to be doing. So the person that I'm most fearful of in terms of the overall series is the person right in front of me, as far as the people remaining, or the people that weren't in the three-man breakaway up the road, is Brent, guy in front of me, Cadence. He got second in the series, in the last series. He is probably, arguably, the bigged threat from Cadence to win the series, and if he's not the biggest threat, he's the second biggest threat. Him and Chad. Chad, the guy, is up the road in the three-man breakaway. Therefore, without any disrespect to Chris, who is up the road, Cadence rider, with Andy in the secondary break, I'm not concerned about him in relation to Brent. So I'm happy with Chris taking points up the road. He and Andy can fight that out, but what I want to do is minimize the points that come to Brent. So Brent getting no points or limited points is a big win, I think, for our team, because he's a threat to win the series. So that's entirely been my strategy and my thinking since that original breakaway went and I knew it was over. Now, Brent told me, he's happy to let a single rider just go off the front, but I don't think we should all sit up and, should I have put in that little bit of effort to get on this wheel? Maybe yes, maybe no. I think Brent's idea of just wait, let somebody else do it, it's probably correct, but I guess I had it in my head that I have enough energy just to shut everything down. And man, look at Fresh go again. Yeah, that's what I remember, that he went over and over. So this time, Brent is, 3 people up the road is different than 1 person up the road. 1 person up the road's not going to do anything in bringing back any of the guys up ahead, but 3 might be a little bit dangerous. We don't want them to get, to leave us and leave us to scrap over places 9 and 10 and 11. Let's control this, and I get on Brent's wheel. And there's Kato. So Kato, Pegasus, only person on his team in this race. He missed the break, and thus is in not a good position to get on the podium here, of course. He's on the far right side, guttering the group. Cadence chases with RG. Fresh goes again. Fresh must be getting sick of me getting on his wheel, and he's going to drag me up to these guys. And having me and RG, and presumably everyone else is on my wheel, I don't have a rear camera, is discouraging to the people that are pulling on the front, because they know that we're going to do very little work, if any work at all. Now, what would be some scenarios where it's good to chase? And I think a very interesting one was Crybaby Hill and Tulsa Tough this year, professional men. Go back and watch that race, commentary with Daniel Holloway. And this related to Legion's tactics. So there was a breakaway that happened in that race, and Legion had 1 rider in the breakaway, but I think it was the Denver Disruptors had 2 riders in the breakaway, relatively small breakaway. And they had a gap, and Legion was on the front of the field chasing the breakaway. Not chasing, but keeping it fast on the breakaway. Now, why would they do that? They have a strong guy in the break. It was kind of like their lead-out guy. It wasn't one of their quote-unquote strong guys, but their not so strong guys, their working stiffs, are just as strong as, or stronger than anyone else in those fields. Daniel explained the reason why Legion is chasing that breakaway is to put the pressure on Denver to make sure that the breakaway sticks and force them to do work. Because Denver definitely doesn't want the breakaway to come back. Wear those guys out on Denver by keeping the interval to the break short. That's why Legion was on the front, controlling the field, keeping it close, not having other riders do that work. You can say, well, Legion, don't get on the front. Let other people chase. They want to keep that interval small to help manipulate the break. Now, are we doing that in our races? Manipulating the tactics of the break by the interval of the field? Gosh, here we don't, you might have somebody calling out the interval of the break. What happened here? So another attack, guys off the front. Teammate doing the dirty work here, Adam, of marking that break. Again, it's, what am I doing? I'm talking here. Yeah, me and Brent talking here. But anyway, my point being that there are legitimate reasons to chase or be on the front in the field when you have teammates in the break. But I think it's pretty rare for our kind of racing and what is known, the way that we estimate how far the break is up the road is visual, or if you're counting out the time. So we're getting close to the end here. Yeah, I think this is the final lap. Sorry for talking too much here. How far are we into this? 27 minutes? No, or maybe we're not the final lap. I think we're in the second to last lap. But let's see, who went up the road? We know that one of my teammates is up the road here. Yeah, this is not the final lap. Must be 1.5 to go or 2.5 to go. And again, I'm fine with this going up the road. Brent here on the front is fine with it going up the road. I think he might not have a teammate in that group. I didn't see that small group. But again, we're fighting over minor placements here. We're talking about 6th place. Out of all of us that are squabbling here, 6th place is at stake, which is worth some points, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, in terms of the overall series. Certainly it helps if you're going to win the series to get a point or two. What am I going to do here? I'm going to pick up on the black kit, if I can get there, and see if I can get a ride to these guys up front. Let's see what the cue card says. 2 laps to go. Okay. Just like in a race, when you're doing commentary, you better pay attention to the cue cards. All right. Grupo Compacto. What are we going to do now? 2 laps to go. So this is now a race within a race. It's a reset. We just reset. We all came back together. Some guys did some work. My teammate marked the guys up the road. They're now certainly a little bit discouraged because we're all back together. And perhaps everyone is going to sit up and think about a field sprint. No. RG goes off the front with Cadence. So at this point, he's not chasing the group ahead because that is done and dusted. He is now going for 6th place and forcing other teams to chase him. I've seen RG use this tactic to good use, both to help his teammates, and in a race last year he won where everyone else was marking each other and nobody was willing to put in the work to bridge up to his attack, and he won. So he didn't win because he was the fastest and strongest. He won because, again, no offense, that's just my take on the situation. He won because of superior tactics last year with Cadence in one particular instance, and that was really cool. It was really cool to see tactics work and team tactics work, and kudos to Cadence last year for that scenario and situation. I was watching the race, I wasn't in the race. I was injured at that time after a crash, which is the reason I only did 2 weeks of racing last year. I got injured before week 3 and I started quite late. My teammate making an appearance here on the video. Jorge in the white kit, so he's got the older Cadence kit. The kit that I've been wearing every single time. So here I am letting a gap open up. Why not? It's my teammate. Let somebody else, let him get off the front. Let him battle it out for 6th place. But Jason chasing, other guys chasing, and Big Cat, Brent's got to decide whether he likes this group up the road for the minor placements. He does not. So he's going to bring it back together. Which I think, again, is okay and fine and good tactic. And he's not, he's not like closing it down real fast, but whether it's a combination. So there you can see my teammate is on the front of that group. On the front, so he has made other people chase, use energy, and me and Adam, right here behind Brent, have not used energy to get up to them. So we are now more rested than they are, and Brent has caught up. He sits up. We have reset. Everyone's sitting up. We now have about a half mile to go for the field sprint, which is contesting for 6th place. I'm not sure if Elias is lapped or ahead there. But now I go to the front, going past Jason, and I know that I have Adam on my wheel. So now I've done, this work, chasing, patrolling. I'm the lead out guy now. And I'm a little bit over to the left, but not completely to the left, giving a little bit of space for my teammate to get a draft. And trying to pick up the pace here, going fast enough that nobody, hopefully, will go around me. So going about, 500 wattish range, keeping the pace here, 28 miles an hour, going through this dip in the turn, and not feeling a ton of energy here. I'm trying to go harder, lead out for my teammate here. Not the most incredible number of watts in the world. Not feeling it entirely. There goes my teammate for 6th place. And actually I was able to hold off the field for 7th place. So we were the first 2 in the field sprint. And rest of the guys, they're behind us. So it worked out pretty well for our team. Now let me tell you what happened in the first 3. I was able to talk to Chad afterwards. And so what happened was Gary attacked with an early attack, and Chad faked like he, hesitated, like maybe he didn't have it. This forced Ryan to go ahead and chase Gary's attack. Ryan used a significant amount of energy to get up to Gary. Chad gets on Ryan's wheel. Ryan does reach Gary. Then Ryan's my teammate. Gary, then after he's caught, I guess was it Chad put in another attack and Gary just kind of came around. But anyway, Gary won, Chad got 2nd, and Ryan got 3rd. And in the secondary break with Andy and Chris, my teammate Andy won between those 2. So we ended up getting 3rd, 4th, 6th, and 7th, which was pretty good. Of course we'd like to have been 1st. But I think tactically it was a good race for us. Meaning we got in the winning break, we got into the secondary break, and we got the first 2 places in the field sprint, so that's about as good as you can hope for. So that's it for today's video. Perhaps you will catch the next one. See you later. Bye.